Welcome to People Are Everything, the show that's a bit like Desert Island Discs, but rather than bring music, I ask my guests to bring the 5 people that have shaped the person they are today. And today we are meeting Steve Keywood. I think he has quite the following, Steve. He seems to have tapped into the need from most of us to have a very personalised understanding of our own well-being. He's a fitness instructor. He runs his own business called Nudge. And we all need a nudge when it comes to looking after ourselves. And his particular brand of infectious enthusiasm plus deep, deep knowledge of how bodies work and also the psychology of exercise and nutrition is what's made him so successful. And I can't wait for you to meet him. I really enjoyed this conversation. And I know you will too. So sit back and relax and listen to me talking with Steve Keywood. Hello, Steve. Welcome to People Are Everything. How are you today? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, good.
You look like someone who's always going to say that. I mean, seriously, I'm already feeling like I need to hit the gym more. And I hit the gym pretty hard as it is, but you just got that health thing, haven't you? Health and vitality. And I'm very envious.
Yeah, I don't always feel like that though. I think you're probably the same. You just always try and smile.
I do always try and smile, but I tell you, I have been obviously in preparation of talking to you today. I've been looking at some of your online activity, and you are a chirpy type, aren't you? You're very chirpy, I can tell from how you engage with all of your people. So, but let's talk about your people, because people are going to think, well, what are you on about, Julia? Who are these people? Who is this Steve? So I know you from the work you do in your gym, which I think is called Nudge. And if you just lift your little top up there, we can see. There we are. And I know people who are big fans of yours. Women in my life you've really, really helped. So they were very keen on me talking to you today. And as the title of the show is People Are Everything, I think there's a special place for people who help people get in shape. I think we have a bit of a hero worship of people who finally crack that hard nut, which is how to stay in the best shape for you personally, because it's so personal, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is this. I think. I think so much of it actually is the environment you're in more so than what you do as such. So if but
that's kind of personal as well, isn't it? What kind of environment you like. So, but why don't we do that? Why don't you describe who you are, what you do, and that environment? Let's talk about it, because I think it is special. Like I say, from the videos I've seen, it does look like a great place to go to.
Yeah, so I'm a personal trainer, so I've been kind of personal training people for 20 years now. And so probably about 18 months ago, I kind of made that decision. I made the decision years and years ago. What I really realised, and I suppose what's kind of relevant to the podcast here, is that people do better with other people. And so, I was doing kind of one-to-one personal training, and it got, I was getting good results with people, but I felt it was kind of hard for people to maintain it. But what I saw is when I incorporated aspects of group fitness in there, that people enjoyed it more. They got more out of it. They were able to stick with it for longer, because it wasn't necessarily, the workouts are challenging in the same way that all workouts are, but it was the connection with other people which made it kind of special, really. And that's dare I say it, they weren't coming to me for the kind of lunges and squats. They were coming because if they didn't come, their friends might ask them why. And so it was kind of it's kind of that kind of team vibe, really. It was the energy it wasn't, when you put 2 people together, it wasn't 1 + 1. It kind of became 5. Do you know what I mean? In terms of energy, in terms of adherence, in terms of experience for the people, for my clients, it was tenfold, really.
Oh, I totally get that. I mean, first of all, that thing about peer pressure, when you're all doing it and they're going to be arriving at 4 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon and you're the one that doesn't show up.
Yeah,
You know that peer pressure works, but in a nice way.
yeah,
But also, it is just more motivating. I like going to the gym. I probably go about 2 or 3 times a week, and I mostly go on my own. But when my partner comes with me, I just like it more
yeah,
because it's just, you're with someone else. You're kind of motivating each other. Validating each other. It's just a much more it's just more motivating, isn't it? But the videos I've seen, it just looks like you make it fun. And let's face it, going to the gym isn't always fun. I personally do enjoy it, but I'm a bit sort of weird like that. But generally speaking, people say, oh God, I've got to go to the gym today. So if they know Steve's going to be there and they know all their mates are going to be there, I can see how that's been so wildly successful for you. But
yeah.
tell us a bit more about you. So you're a PT. What sort of sporting background do you have? Why did you get into PT?
So I used to play rugby, so that was kind of my major. It's kind of constant, probably from 9 years upwards. Really, it's kind of my constant. And because rugby's got that kind of team ethic, the team vibe, hasn't it? And so it's quite a gritty game. It's quite physical, obviously, but it's the culture around the sport was kind of. Yeah, I think what makes it special really for me. I started in a sporting sense, and I suppose probably when you get to about 14, 15, really, I realised that kind of fitness was a big part of that, and I suppose I probably developed quite a good relationship with that kind of stuff. I enjoyed challenging myself in that way, and probably actually beyond a certain point, the fitness became more satisfying to me than the game itself. And I kind of got into it to improve my sports performance, but actually it became a thing in and of itself, and that's where I got to with it. Really, I found a lot of satisfaction from that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was me. I guess probably my overriding thing, also probably my area of most interest is around motivation, adherence, identity, personality, those kind of things. I find psychology probably more interesting than some of the other aspects of it. I love watching people move. I love understanding that, but it's probably what makes them tick, which makes it more interesting to me. So yeah, my background's I've got a sports science and psychology degree, but my major's in psychology, really. And I suppose that carries through to the rest of my work, really. I enjoyed studying things like group dynamics and compliance and things like that. That was what my main interest was: social psychology, really.
Amazing. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I'm not aware of sort of sports psychology as such, but it makes sense that we are a complete person, aren't we? Our bodies are controlled by our minds and vice versa. So I think
Yeah,
it makes sense that you have to understand somebody's mental state with regards to their attitude to to sort of sports and fitness.
yeah,
It reminds me a bit of that app called Noom. Do you know Noom?
I've
Where
heard of. Yeah,
it's like the psychology of nutrition and eating,
yeah,
like how we relate to food, how we think about food. And I didn't know this, Steve, but apparently I'm a storm eater, which sounds awfully kind of, I don't know, something out of Star Wars, isn't it? I'm a storm eater,
yeah,
and which basically means I forget to eat, which is often, and then
yeah,
I just open a cupboard and just inhale what's ever in front of me. And I am that person who will open a cupboard and grab a cracker, put it with, I don't know, peanut butter, and then maybe a banana because that's what's right in front of me. Like I
yeah,
wouldn't have thought about what I'm going to eat, which of course is a terrible way to be. But it's like, it's the psychology of that. The food is not something I personally think about during the day to my
yeah,
detriment. And I imagine there's a lot of psychology with why people take up certain sports or don't do any sports at all, how they associate exercise with fun or not fun. These are really important things if you're going to, I believe in doing exercise for life, as in for living and for all of my life, to keep going. If
Yeah.
anything, that's my biggest motivation, is just to keep going. I promised my son I'll live to 103. So, Steve, you've got to help me. I've got to get there.
Yeah.
So I believe now I'm just working on longevity. I'm just working on strength and etc. Things change per decade, don't they?
Yeah, food's really complex though, and actually, like, I claim to be dietary agnostic. There's kind of relevant, like, everything kind of works, but it's much more, we're kind of emotional beings, so the you know the principles which underpin it are all relatively straightforward. It's the people that make it complex, and that's the real skill. It's kind of fun trying to marry up a style of eating with a person, really, and that's the nature of personal training. Also, I think it's like we kind of eat with these emotions, and so it's kind of getting people to recognise that it's principally it's all the same. You've got to eat. The kind of habits which underpin it are all the same. You've got to be organised. You've got to eat an appropriate amount according to your goals. You've got to get the right kind of nutrients in there and whatnot. But trying to get people to recognise that as well. Kind of emotional beings, as you say, it's quite rational trying to keep fit, isn't it? It's a smart decision, but
sticking with it. That's the hard part.
with it,
Especially with our busy lives these days. It's so, you can start the week with a really good intention, can't you? And then, as I say, by I might have meal planned for like Monday, but by Tuesday, Wednesday, it's all gone to pot, and I'm all over the shop. So I think it's a little bit of a consequence of our modern lives, and the pressures we're all under for time and making time for things that, as you say, rationally makes perfect sense that we should all be staying fit and eating well, but we don't. Anyway, Steve, so that's you, and what I like to ask my guests next is, I've obviously forced you under duress to think about the 5 people you want to talk about today, and I always want to know how that was for you. I always want to know, how did you find that exercise? Was it easy or was it really, really hard?
I think it's knowing where they kind of sit, though. It's funny. EJ, my wife, is remarkably straightforward. I laugh because a lot of people are talking about the Bridget Jones movie, and I was thinking I'm thinking I might try and take her to that to see if we can kind of get stir up some emotions in her. I said to her, the only film she's ever cried at was Toy Story 3. I think
That's so funny.
Yeah, I think, and so I said to her, I did say to her just a moment ago when I was kind of going through, I didn't want to leave her out of the list because it probably, it'll probably come back to haunt me in months later. You never mentioned me.
Oh, funny.
But then she said, "Oh, I don't think anyone's influenced my life," which I thought was funny. It's kind of. I mean, it's those kind of things that I love about her. But it's I thought it's kind of. It's certainly interesting because I think there's kind of tipping points in your life as well where someone's giving you a little steer, or the influence of someone has given you a bit of a steer, hasn't there? So I kind of almost thought there's like constants. There's people who've probably been with me for a long time, and then there's perhaps people who've been in my life for shorter periods, but perhaps influenced the rest of it essentially. So it's been a bit of fun. Well,
I like the sound of EJ. She's definitely my cup of tea. My partner says the same thing to me. He's like, I mean, my partner will literally cry at everything. We watch Repair Shop. Repair Shop?
Yeah.
And honestly, she'll cry at everything that's been repaired. I'm looking over, she's got these tears, and I'm going, what's wrong with you? It's just an old toy that's been fixed. I know, but it meant so much to them. Anyway, so I'm dry-eyed completely. So I think EJ and I are going to become best friends. So anyway, let's see if she makes it on the list. So you found it interesting, and I like the fact that EJ saw it as something completely differently. But let's get into it then. Who is number 1?
Well, so yeah, I'd say that I've probably got 8 actually, but I'm going to I see if I get away with that blag. But yeah,
Group them
it's
together, Steve. I might not notice.
yeah, and so the first 3 probably I was kind of hesitant because I guess they're kind of cliche a little bit, aren't they? I think and I suppose probably she's a very similar vein to EJ. My mum, I suppose. You know, she set a pretty solid example, really, of and traits that I kind of enjoy throughout. Really, it's she was quite hardworking. You know, to a point. I suppose this is probably why it's a bit emotional, actually, because it's kind of, you know, I as a parent now, I kind of recognise probably some of the challenges she was facing. You know, she was a single parent with 3 of us for a period of time, and I remember it being particularly tight for money and whatnot. And so she had a part-time job, a full-time job, and then went off to study as well. I think it was kind of, she's of that kind of ilk also, where you know, and I suppose it's possibly political, but I remember she kind of been absolute, you know, at one point in time, I remember her saying, you know, I'm going to get us off of these benefits. And that's kind of my thoughts around that. She's kind of really hard working. And also, and I suppose it probably links into the people thing. We had some great neighbours who kind of looked out for us as well. And so that's, I suppose that's kind of what I was thinking in that, and as you say, like, your parental influence is good and bad in some ways, isn't it? But it was the way she kind of approached it. Really, she often, you know, she laughed a lot, and I know that's a trait that I have. I get fun of it. But yeah, she found a lot of things funny, but yeah, underneath that there was kind of. The trying aspect. I remember actually going to the gym with her over the years. There was a gym over in kind of West Byfleet called the Pinnacle, which was kind of, you know, back then there wasn't too many gyms, but
I used to go to that one.
oh, did
I'm
you?
just saying.
Did you? But
And our mutual friend Kate, we used to go there years ago. That was our
yeah.
gym.
It was, but it was kind of ahead of its time, wasn't it? So and I suppose again, these things kind of influence you, because what I really knew about the Pinnacle was going there with my mum as a kid was one, my mum was and she won't mind me saying, she wasn't very good at fitness, but she never stopped trying. You know, she was playing racquetball, and she was awful. Like, she never stopped. She always kept going, you know. And I suppose that kind of willingness to give it a go was there, but also it was a really sociable club. So I think after every session, every single person went to the bar, and it was you know, it was more than fitness, and again, it kind of influenced. You know, I've got quite a sociable fitness group, and I really drive that because I think it's important. You know, yeah, physical health is just one aspect, but I think in terms of like overall sense of belonging, community support, whatever, like it was great for that. I remember the coaches; they were also spending a lot of time with us afterwards. We'd have to sit and be quiet, be sensible while she did her thing, but they always did things with us or whatever. But it was that willingness to try. Really, it was that kind of strikes me now I'm older. I don't know how she managed it all. It must have been tough, you know. It must have been tough trying to balance it all, really. But it was the hard work. It was the sense of humour about it. It was the social aspect. You know, neighbours coming over for a glass of wine or a cup of tea every day, kind of stopping in, kind of thing. It was. I think that's a big influence on me, really. Yeah.
And I can see that there's a big emotion in you when you're talking about her, and
Yeah.
she sounds like that influence is so much more than. I mean, one of the things I love about this process is it kind of forces you to sit and really think about it, and I bet many of those things you took for granted a little bit. You know, that community, that belonging, that importance of hard work, that laughing at the small and large things of life is a really good way to be. So often we just absorb these things. We take them on board as if they're ours.
Yeah.
This is me, Steve. I'm the guy that works hard, that goes to the gym, that laughs a lot. And then what you just said was, and I recognise all that in her. And
Yeah.
she gave me those things. And is she still with us? She's still alive, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's kind of me and my siblings. We kind of laugh because she has zero maternal instincts. I mean, quite honestly,
she's going to hear this, Steve.
Oh no, she'll miss it. But she's with my kids now, with her grandkids, she's soft. Like it's ridiculous, actually.
That's always the way, apparently.
Yeah, we were like, where was this?
She had to control you all. She's on her own. She had 3 of you to deal with.
It's always laughable. She kind of like, I'll take them for the evening.
Yeah. And you're like, hang on a minute.
Yeah,
I think that's very, very common. that all the softness comes when they have grandchildren, because I think things more when you're a grandparent. I mean, you're never the same person one year to the next, are you? You're always learning something. Yeah. And that learning something is quite interesting because, I hear often people say, oh, and I didn't really appreciate my parents until I became a parent. And and when you look back, and I think that cycle goes on and on and on. I think every single generation, if you're fortunate enough to have children, feels the same way when they look back and they go, gosh, how long did my parents cope with this or that? Yeah. You can't really know that until you become a parent. So extra special treats for mothers this Mother's Day, Steve. Now you've sat and thought about it. Extra stuff.
Yeah, she'd never entertain that. I'll get my wife to buy her a card.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right. So does she occupy number one all by herself, or did you say you were going to lump in some other people, or can we give her the top spot?
Yeah, like I said, I don't know what I'd get away with on this one, because I'd say so I've got EJ as well, and I dare, like I say, there's probably 3 women who have constants probably over the last kind of however many years, but EJ follows a very similar vein. She probably not quite as outgoing as my mum, but she's quite hardy in that kind of position. I think in so many ways, she kind of quietly sits behind me, just driving it. Really, she's kind of the voice of reason. I'll be honest. I probably wouldn't go to EJ for advice. It's
you wouldn't, or you wouldn't advise anyone, did?
Well, she's not always wrong, but
this is funny.
She's quite straightforward.
Okay.
She's quite straightforward, and actually, she probably. She knows what's important in life. She's kind of, whereas my family is quite bitty, like if I ring my parents sparingly, I see siblings kind of, month to month, maybe, something's on. But EJ's family is very, very close. And I've always really appreciated that, like almost tribal. Do you know what I mean? It's, she definitely brings that to our family, if that makes sense. She's more of a home bird, but she's I'm kind of outgoing and driven, and she's really supported that over the years. Like and also just sets I don't know what the best way to describe it, like give me a little adjustments when I need it, she kind of she's incredible for that. She kind of gives me the space to do what I need to do for us, if that makes sense. And that's invaluable. I kind of, especially over the last 18 months since we started Nudge, I've always known it to be true. I've always kind of appreciated and respected that as well. But more so, even though, like, just just making sure everything kind of, it's not a traditional. It's not a traditional wife's role. She kind of works 3 days a week. She works hard too, but it certainly takes care of me and the kids in a way that I just don't know.
Well, she's in your corner, isn't she? She's someone who's just there for you. She recognises, the work you're doing is important to you. She's passionate about it as well. And I imagine her super practical. Like if she gives you advice, and I know you said don't go to her for advice, but I imagine I did for a minute. I imagine it's quite no nonsense and real and practical, and says, yeah, just do that, or don't worry about it, but just to know someone's in your corner, I think that's absolutely essential for anyone who's, particularly if you're, running your own business and you're putting yourself out there a little bit with the work that you do. I think that's absolutely essential.
Yeah, she's quite straightforward. She's quite straightforward. Like I say, it's like often it's like the kind of flippant response. Like I said, sometimes she's not quite. Yeah, she's not wrong necessarily, but it's I probably have to sleep on her advice a little bit sometimes. She's brilliant though. She is good, and there's the cool thing. I mean, I suppose in more recent years she's kind of developed much more interest in kind of health and fitness and whatever. But it doesn't always come naturally to her. So I kind of I love like I say, kind of. I think with these things you kind of grow together on some of it, and so she's kind of totally embraced it more recent years, and so it's lovely. Also, she is a great example to the kids. She really is, and so it's nice. It's nice kind of contrast, really.
All right. Well, let's. You said there's 3 women that you wanted to talk about. I have a feeling you're going to lump them all in as one, and then there's 4 other people that we're going to get in there.
Yeah, you'll kick me off.
Let's see. I might allow it. Let's see. Who's number 3?
The other one's Jan, my assistant, actually. So years ago, so I recognised running a business years ago. Like I said, it's always been quite a sociable kind of business. 15 years ago, I started a fitness camp outside. We had a lovely gang of people, and then what I realised is that there's a book called The E-Myth, and you realise that you're kind of good at 2 aspects. I'm kind of creative and entrepreneurial. I was good practitioner, I could deliver sessions, but I wasn't especially good at managing it, and so I thought it was a smart move to get someone in, as a PA or an assistant to kind of help me along. And then Jan kind of came on board, and it was kind of a working relationship initially, but she kind of grown with the business as it's kind of evolved over the last kind of 10 years or more. And so it's but more so than that, it's like is the friendship really. It's she kind of just enjoy her company. She's probably as much a confidant for me, and in some ways, and especially more mostly in a work sense, but we kind of talk about everything, life or whatever, and we kind of shared that journey really. But she's been amazing for me. It's great to just have someone in your corner, and she's kind of selfless. I kind of impulsive, or in some of the ideas, and it just she kind of knows me, my business, what we do, the goals, whatever, inside out, and it's just great and always available as well. We share similar interests, like a few drinks, food and whatever. So it's kind of, it's a great friendship really. And my life would be very different without her. I don't know where you employ someone who does that really. It's like I say, she's there for everything really. She's been amazing for me. Yeah.
Well, I think it's such an important relationship. I mean, if you think about what you do, you have to be ready and peak for when the people come into your gym and they need something from you. And you're giving all day long, if you think about it. Every person that comes in is coming in wanting to feel like they are the most important person in that moment when you're talking to them, that you are focused on their well-being. And it's a lot of outgiving all through the day.
Yeah.
And that's the bit you're brilliant at. And you need people in your life, therefore, to take care of other things, but also to be there for you, to keep you energized, to keep you, because there's always that thing. If you're taking care of everyone else, who's taking care of you? It sounds
Yeah.
like Jan is.
Yeah.
So that's a really important and such a, for your success, so vital, really, because without that, you probably wouldn't have that such great energy to give to everybody all day.
Yeah, it's massive actually. You know, like there's a big thing. Like despite the social nature of what I do, it can be quite isolating actually. And actually to have someone who's within the business also, you know, she kind of embodies everything that's good about Nudge. You know, she really exercises hard. She's, you know, she buys into the community vibe. You know, she gets it, and so yeah, you know, there's a big thing, I think, in professions like mine. They call it compassion fatigue, where you give so much away. But to have someone who's kind of there with you throughout it, you know, it's amazing. Really, she kind of picks up where I kind of and almost anticipates where my kind of weak spots would be, and kind of drives it. Yeah,
That's
subtly.
the way, yeah.
She's kind of good as well, because at one point or another, I'm not very good at being told what to do, but I do need it, and she kind of she has this kind of canny way about her where she kind of she makes her ideas seem like mine, which kind of I know that she does, you know. She kind of
but you like it anyway. You go,
well,
oh.
I think it's that needy man vibe. You probably know. Like, you know, we're all the same, really. But she kind of, like I used to have an aversion to a list, and so she'd kind of subtly drop the things that I needed to do into it. Oh yeah, remember you said you were gonna, you know, it's very skillful. It's kind of, but,
I'm not sure that's. I'm not sure it's a gender thing necessarily, because I think it's just a way of being. Some people are really, super organized, and they like the lists, and they tick off. I'm not that person myself, actually.
Yeah.
And I think giving people what they need without them knowing that they need it, that's a skill in itself. And actually, it's really, without getting too sort of mushy about it, it's a little bit of a form of honouring who you are to them, and that they want to go to that extra trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's so easy for Jan to just go, Steve, come on, sort this out. But because she knows you're not very good at receiving that, or she's worries that perhaps it's going to be overwhelming for you because you've got so much more to do today, it's a form of noticing. And noticing people is a form of love. Noticing what they need is a form of love. It says, he doesn't like it delivered that way. I'm going to deliver it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's subtle, but it's very if you notice it when it's not there, when you have somebody else trying to do it who hasn't taken the time to learn you and then they will land it completely differently, and you'll feel it differently. So good for you for finding Jan, and she sounds amazing, and so does EJ and your mum. You're very fortunate, 3 very good women in your life, sorting you out, Steve, by the sounds of things.
It's a 3-person job.
All right, so should we go on to? Well, hang on then. So are we number 2 now?
I guess so. I don't know. You might tell me off as we get there.
Go on, let's do it. It doesn't matter.
I suppose the other one, which is less conventional, also is I'd say the person for number 2, number 3, whatever. Yeah, number 5 maybe. It's Chobham Rugby Club. I think my dad took me down there when I was 9 years old. You know, I loved it. Like I really loved. You know, I love that sport for ages. But I think the sense of belonging, the community, it really it means everything to me, really. And it's kind of impacted all aspects of my life, really. You know, truth be told, I'm probably a bit more of an introvert, really. I look at my daughter Sophie. She's she was very shy, but and much like me, I suppose, from playing sport, she's really grown in confidence. She's 10 now, but last year she decided, having spent a lifetime, she went down there when she's about 6 days old, I think, but she never showed an interest in playing rugby, and we don't push it. I'm not that kind of dad, really. Both of my kids, William and Sophie, play, but I always kind of pump the brakes on that, because I like rugby, I wouldn't want to push them into that. But I think being part of something like that kind of gave me confidence in all other areas of my life, and I see that with Sophie too. Over the last year, she's much more outgoing, more forthcoming to try things. Making friends. She's naturally quite good at it, enjoys the tackling, enjoys the running, all the kind of sport. But it's the friendships you make and the connections and your experience of that, which is huge, I think. And Chobham Rugby Club probably given me that throughout the years, from, in all aspects. I kind of played from 9, right through to kind of seniors, really. And it's it's the people, it's the experience throughout, from teammates to the people you meet in the bar. And now it's for all our family, really. I think it's been great.
Well, it's back to your point earlier about belonging, isn't it? Belonging to something, that sense of these people know me. I can walk in and go, all right, how's it going, John? How's it going? Kate, or whatever, whoever the people are, just that sense of familiarity, a place to go, a place to belong. People are, mean something to you. And then that's not, notwithstanding the health benefits of doing great sports and doing something that you really feel competitive within, and have teammates. And I mean, I've never been in a team as such in that way. I've been in teams in my work life, but I think maybe I have to go all the way back to school days before I could say I belonged to a team of sports people. So I tend to do more sort of solo things, but I've always looked at it and gone, that looks really fun. And particularly the sort of, you played a game and hopefully won, and then you can go and celebrate. And, I can see with the attraction of it. And I love the fact that that's continued generation to generation. And I know what you mean by not being that kind of parent. I remember once really keen that my son, he's a really good musician, naturally a really good musician, but he got offered a place in a band, and I'm like, oh, you've got to join the band. You've got to join the band, because I used to be a musician when I was young. And he looked at me, and he was probably only about 14, 15. He looked at me, he said, Mum, my dreams are not your dreams.
Yeah.
Oh, no, hang on. Have I got that the right way round?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got it wrong around. Mum, your dreams are not my dreams. And I was like, oh, I was crestfallen, Steve. I was absolutely gutted. And he never did join the band, and he's gone off to do other amazing things. But I just remember that moment where he just said, no, these are your dreams, Mum, not mine. Yeah. So it's nice though when they discover that for themselves, and you just go and you see it happening, and you go, well, I'm really pleased with that anyway.
Yeah, I probably too far the other way. I kind of almost like too
Step
hesitant.
back.
Yeah, or like perhaps too hesitant, because sometimes little ones need a little chivvy along, don't they?
But dare I say they need a nudge, Steve? Do they need a nudge? Oh, did you see what I did there? Yeah. Got the old company name in. I thought, if you're not going to plug it, I'm going to. Oh, good. Well, I like Chobham Rugby Club. I only know it from the fireworks. It does the fireworks every year, doesn't it? Which again, a big community thing. Everybody knows about the Chobham fireworks. For anyone who doesn't live where we live, it's just a regular town, Chobham, isn't it? It's very quaint, very very pretty, but it's just a normal sort of Surrey town. And but the Chobham fireworks is quite, I don't know, locally famous, I would say.
Yeah, I think the thing about Chobham is it's a village club, and it's still got that kind of ethos. But it kind of, the number of people over the years who've kind of gone through it or had an experience with it, all seems remarkably positive, and so that's kind of it's quite powerful stuff. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they got in there, all of them.
Yeah.
All right, so one. We've had three, a whole club. Three, well, three women, a whole club. Let's do number three. I'm letting you get away with this,
Oh
Steve.
yeah, cool. I think so. I'm thinking like one of my college lecturers, Alan Hillman. I think you said to me initially, it's not always the people who are kind of positive, but he had a phrase: "You always remember the bastards," and I think I didn't. My school kind of education was kind of hit and miss, really. I think it's I didn't really apply myself. There was a lot else going on, and I think it's kind of quite intense for me that time. And dare I say, even probably a bit of a waste of time in some ways. But I got into college, and I remember Alan kind of, I probably carried on where I left off from school, and he probably recognised something in me that I probably didn't see myself at that point, and he pushed me. Probably the first 3 months I did nothing like I did when I was at school, and he was a bit hard, but it was kind of good for me because it probably fed into everything thereafter. He recognised that I could probably do better. And he kind of pushed me. I was saying, they're still my friends now, but he said, look at these guys, you're kind of hanging around not doing what you're supposed to do. Where do you where's this all going for you? And he was right, actually. He was definitely right with that, as much as I kind of knuckled down and started reading. I didn't really read a book when I was at school, and I kind of started getting into reading, and as a probably from his kind of tough lessons at that point, I probably it meant I was able to go on to go to uni and do that kind of thing, which kind of was massive for me. Actually, it was really. I didn't need the degree to do what I do now, but it certainly changed the way I think about a lot of things, really.
Interesting. So there's a previous podcast, excuse me, Jasper Reed, and Jasper, I think the 3 out of 5, he talked about the 3 people that he met through his education, and the thread was always that they'd seen something in him that he hadn't seen in himself. And you've said that too, and you hear this often with, really great teachers. They know when they see something in that student that's either going to be, excuse me, something they want to nurture, or they know they've got to guide this person just a little bit in this direction so that they can make the most of the talents they already have, or the energy they already have, or something, whatever they can see in you. They're
Yeah.
going to help you take that forward into your life. And that's a really special teacher. You could easily stand at the front of a class, especially in this country where it's 30 something people, and just deliver the content. But to actually look out into that group and say, that's Steve, he's got something. I think I need to give him a little bit of I'm going to say nudge again, Steve, I can't help it. He's going to give a little bit of support here to you, because he can see there's something different about you, and
Yeah.
look at the trajectory of your life that's changed because of it. So I'm glad he's on the list. And is he still with us? Do you think he might listen to this and
Oh,
go,
I don't know. I feel a bit bad about that. I haven't really been back to tell him what kind of influence he had, but he's certainly powerful. Like, I don't think I'd have done anything else since, really.
yeah, amazing.
It's a solid lesson, though. I kind of,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
but also, yeah, absolutely. And I hope he is still with us, and possibly even teaching, and knows it.
yeah.
It must be a lovely feeling to sort of retire from a profession like that, knowing that you have affected so many people. If you have awareness of it, it must be
Yeah.
such a lovely, rewarding feeling.
I think probably what was good for me at that point was it was kind of unconventional. He was an ex-copper. As a kind of public services BTEC. So the idea for me was to go into the army or the police service at that point. And then, I don't know whether I had people like that up until that point.
Yeah,
It's
it's just what you needed.
subsequently I kind of come to realise, I've got that kind of. I come, further studies, I kind of recognize kind of the attributes that probably connected with that, like my style of learning, leadership or whatever. But like I say, it was a bit unusual. Like I'd never really come across a guy like that who pushed me in that way. It's quite, again, it was a tough lesson at that point, but it kind of, I kind of probably almost started studying to spite him at that point. And then now look.
Whatever works. But
Yeah.
also, I just want to pick up on something you said earlier as well, which is that it sounded like things weren't easy for you. And
Oh,
against that backdrop, I think I mean, hats off to you, Steve. I don't have a degree. My life was utter chaos in my school days. And it's when I look back now, it was completely unrealistic for me to have a good education. But you sounds like you had challenges too, and you still managed to make time commit to make it happen for yourself. So I take my hat off to you. I would love to have a degree. I think one day, if I ever get time, I'm going to study something. But against the backdrop of home life, sounds like maybe some home life difficulties or whatever it might have been. That's a really amazing achievement, and not to be.
I don't know. I don't know. It's the degree kind of, it was born out of like the fact that I didn't really know what else to do at that point. I enjoyed, like I said, I kind of taken up reading and, I enjoy playing rugby. So I felt like the next natural step was I did. It was kind of a good good time because I didn't really have the qualifications to go and do a degree either. Actually, I was just very fortunate at the time. I didn't go through clearing. I turned up there with a backpack and asked them to go and do it. And then they told me the course was full, but the principal of the university overheard the conversation and said, because I'd shown willing, I could go and do it. So again, so many situations, I suppose.
Why didn't I think of that, Steve?
No,
I should have just turned up
it
and
was
gone.
it was in hindsight it's totally weird. He said he's shown willing, let's give him a chance, which is unbelievable because I didn't have the qualifications to support it, and somewhat weirdly I didn't even know what physiology was. It was great for me though. Studying subject that I love or subjects that I love was just I was a bit unusual, I think, because I'd had a year out, and probably up until that point, I kind of never really channel that kind of energy. I never applied myself so much to it, but I really wanted to learn. I enjoyed that environment. I enjoyed the freedom to study the subjects I wanted. It was, it's. That's what I mean. I kind of look at kind of William at secondary school now, and I think, oh, is it? Is there not a better way to do this? Like it's like some sort of self-guided aspect to it, perhaps. I don't know. I look at it. I think it's kind of I don't know whether it's great, but
Maybe that's.
the way
I
things
think
are set up.
I think that self-guided thing's really interesting. I think that is probably the future. When you think about it, anything you need to know, you just it's just a click away these days, isn't it? You can just learn,
But
ask ChatGPT or anything, and it will tell you. And that's only the beginnings of that technology. So I think self-guided learning and development, and wanting to be focusing on the individual and having the agency to choose the things that you want to do. I think that's much more the sort of nuanced way of self-development going forward, I think, in education.
But it's kind of fundamental for motivation, isn't it? Like Daniel Pink writes about like autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And that's what I mean about being dietary agnostic. People know their own mind. You just got to kind of
Yeah.
help them work out the way that works for them. Really,
Yeah,
you kind of have to
absolutely.
kind of like give it a little steer if because not everything people know is correct, and so I think it's like I say, it's I don't. Education obviously works for a kind of huge number of people, but actually for many people, I think just letting them find their way a little bit, probably.
Mm. Well,
I don't know what that looks like either, but
yeah.
like
Let someone else solve that,
yeah,
Steve. We're
yeah, yeah,
busy. We're busy with other things.
yeah,
Well, Alan sounds great, and I
yeah,
think I hope he is still with us and still doing similar things. If not, he's enjoying his retirement and looking back on a great career. All right,
yeah.
then. So we've done the three women in your life, main women. We've done Chobham Rugby Club. We've now done Alan. Who's next?
So yeah, I'd say there's kind of two more. Like Dax Moore is probably again inadvertent. So when I started, I left university and decided I didn't actually want a real job, so I started working for myself. And then I realised at that point that I'd had enough part-time jobs, different jobs, that I kind of didn't really want to like follow a conventional route. I felt like that was going to be more for me. And then I kind of I did quite well. I kind of set myself some targets to contact people. I found a few clients, and it was as a personal trainer, and it was fine. I subsidized my income by doing coaching, and then I come across various different books along the way, and like I said, the kind of skills I learned at university, I kind of traced the information back to source. But Dax Moy, probably ahead of his time, really. Ran that, in terms of kind of business and study or whatever. But he kind of ran an online platform for personal trainers, which was free.
Okay.
But it was
How do you say his name? Dax.
Dax, Dax, and his surname's Moy, Moy. But
Okay.
he kind of brought together kind of lots of kind of ambitious personal trainers. But whereas nowadays, and I have to be careful because I sound a bit long in the tooth when I say it, but nowadays it's kind of a lot showier. It's a lot more about marketing, whatever. At that point, the foundation was all about reading and studying, and so I'd read 2-3 books a month around hormones, around biomechanics, joint structure and function, like all nutrition, whatever. It was it was a great time for studying, but also he and probably the reason I think he makes the list is also there was like an underpinning around business. And so personal training is kind of a bit of a vocation in some ways. You like helping people, but you have to make ends meet. And I think that's sometimes where people in my profession go horribly wrong. You have to create a business, and he really off the foundation of that knowledge. And I'm no joke, I must have spent thousands in the first few years like studying, courses, reading books, attending different things, whatever. But of the basis of that understanding of how of nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, stress, sleep, understanding of these kind of like in detail those things. But it was the business side that kind of how you run a business, how you set it up, which probably has stood the test of time. Really, I realized I could kind of work with people, I could get them results, but it was the confidence with the business side of it that probably made the biggest impact for me. My family probably too.
Yeah.
Made it sustainable, really.
Well, I
Yeah,
think that's well credited. I think if Dax has made that available to you to give you that resource, and but then credit to you also for making that investment in your future.
yeah,
That is very shows a very entrepreneurial side of you. Okay, inspired by Dax, but you're right. I do meet people, particularly in the professions where it's one-to-one things. So I work in sort of the field of consulting in my sort of day job. And there comes a point where a consultant can only really, make as much money as their time allows
yep,
because they're being paid one-to-one time-wise. And what I see with your business is that you've come up with a model and a system that goes beyond your personal time.
yep,
Because I think that's probably what you mean by it falls over eventually, is because you can only earn as much or generate as much as you can actually make time to speak to people and meet with people. So is that a fair kind of assessment of how
Yeah.
you were influenced?
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, it's exactly that. Like, there's like a ceiling on what you can do, and there's not enough hours
Mm,
in the day, really. And so, to leverage my time, I changed my business model probably about 15 years ago or more, to do what I only did 18 months ago, really. But yeah, as you say, you kind of either bump your hourly rate up, so you
yeah.
kind of, or learn to leverage your time differently. And so it's the concepts that I learned from that, and then also, off the back of that, one of the big things in terms of what Dax was doing was around positioning, and actually,
Mm,
I like I said, I kind of struggled a lot with writing at school. When I went to do my degree, there was a suggestion that I was dyslexic. I
mm,
didn't bother going for the test because I didn't think it was worth it at that point. But
mm.
um, the challenge back then, blogging was a thing, and so I used to, the books that I read, I'd write about the concepts in them, and actually, beyond the business side of it, it opened up like a creative thing. I had a perception of myself that I wasn't particularly creative, but
Hmm.
I think it was, again, historically, I just had that perception, because I wasn't good at drawing or art or whatever, but I found that I enjoyed writing about subjects that I liked, and that gave me a platform to launch an online business 15 years ago. Like the blogs that I wrote, I had no real reason to do it other than to find more personal training clients. But I kind of, beyond a certain point, Facebook launched groups, I think in like 2009, and then I started doing online programs with people all over the world. And so it was kind of, and again, it was off the back of that. It wasn't directly from Dax, but it gave me the confidence to follow
Yeah.
what I thought would be a good trend, and it's empowered me way beyond that, really. Yeah,
And gave you great content, because I've seen some of your blogs, and it's like all that kind of mind body stuff. It's so you can go as deep as you like, really, can't you? I mean, you could just, like you say, go and do some. Well, you said people don't come to you just to learn how to do squats.
yeah,
It is There is so much more to body mechanics, and like you say, hormones, and physiology generally, and the whole kind of psychology and all the stuff we've talked about. It's
yeah.
super complicated. And you can get really deep into it, and people find it fascinating. How the body works is fascinating, in my opinion.
Well, the thing I think is probably, and I suppose that's the same with anything really. Is like if you, I, there's so much. I think the more you know, the more you realise there's to learn. And so
Mm,
beyond a certain point, I think it's Dunning-Kruger effect. You're kind of confident with what you know until you learn a bit more, and then you realise you don't know anything really.
mm,
And then with that comes more confidence. Oh, I confidently don't know anything and
yeah.
whatnot. But I think. I think with the stuff I like more so now, and you like back then I was so into understanding nutrition, exercise, these kind of things. But I take a much more reductionist approach confidently now, because
Okay.
there's only a handful of habits that really have the biggest impacts on people.
Gotcha.
And
Mm,
I probably don't do the best job of kind of of writing or sharing that or disclosing, but I think people's attention span has changed also. So whereas I used to enjoy long form copy, there wasn't much of that around. Now people lack the context, really. Like
yeah.
they just want the bullet point, and I get that too. The world changes, doesn't it? And so
I'm
it,
quite the opposite, Steve. I promise you, if we were to work together, I like to know everything.
oh
I
cool, yeah,
want to know how that connects to that. Oh, I'm sorry, people not watching. How does the thumb connect to the hand? How does the hand connect to the wrist? And so it goes. I want to know everything,
yeah,
because the truth of it is I'm always hurting myself. And I
yeah,
want to know what's happened, how can I fix it? And information for me is like gold. I want to know all of it. But I also recognise that some people just want to just sort this out with you and give me the basics of what I need. But that point you made about long form, it's one of the motivations for me doing this is like I love long form conversation. I like listening to it, and I like having it. And I honestly think yes, we could do this all in bullet points, Steve. I could just ask you who you were.
Yeah.
Send me a text. Send me a text with the 5 people that matter to you. Don't write too much, will you, Steve? I haven't got the attention span for it. We could do this in a different format, but I think the real kind of interesting stuff is the stuff that comes in between the bullet points. It's the nuance, it's the subtlety, it's the emotion, it's all the kind of messy human stuff. And I worry that sometimes we are not. We're creating ways of communicating that do not allow for that. So this is like my attempt at making sure the kind of complexities of human communication, if you like, are given good. I don't know, given good airing.
We love stories, though, don't we?
We do.
I think it's you marry. I'm like a marketer's dream, so I'm with you on that. Like I could really, if someone's passionate about something, I'm all
absorb
in.
yourself.
I kind of all in, and so it's the stories we tell around it.
Absolutely.
That's what makes things great. It's getting attention in the first instance, I think, which is the tricky thing, isn't it? And you should come to Nudge.
I probably will.
You'll be like, too much information, Steve.
No, never enough for me. I as I say, I like to know it all. All right. Well, listen, you're going to get one more in, I think, aren't you?
Yeah. So I'd say perhaps the last one, and he's I've never met him. He's a broadcaster. Simon Monday. He used to run Know the Score podcast. It was on BBC back in the day. He's got his own podcast now, which is slightly different. But at that time, I think, like I said, like one of the tricky things about running a business like me, like there's that point where you kind of like you're spread quite thin, family life, whatever. Without kind of oversharing too much, I'm probably struggling more than I like to admit at that point. So I kind of went and spoke to a few people and got some help and whatever. But Simon Monday used to, and I'd say probably the drive behind that was Simon Monday's podcast. So he'd interview these athletes about things beyond their sport, successful athletes, and they'd share things. But probably one of the more powerful things I've done in the last few years was a kind of mindful based stress reduction course. Like I say, I got a keen interest in motivation adherence. I've got a degree in psychology, but practically, I've been playing lip service to mindfulness really over the years. And then you get busy, don't you? And so you kind of put your own things on the back burner. But through listening to his podcast, I kind of recognize actually I'm not feeling great here. And so I set about kind of correcting that. But through his through some of the lessons on there, he talked about this course a lot, and it was life changing for me really. It was the right kind of topics at the right time for me, really, I'd say.
Yeah.
And so through kind of again, I kind of listened to his podcast. I went off and looked further at the kind of stuff that people were talking about there and the impact it had had on them, and then and did that too. And without being too woolly about it changed my life really. I just developed better relationships with seemingly negative emotions. I deliberately took rest instead of trying to like soldier on through, and I felt a million times better, or have felt a million times better for doing it really. So
brilliant. I mean, I believe that the sort of laws of attraction stuff is like, I don't know how many times this has happened to me. The thing I needed to hear that day is the thing that when I switch on my phone and I look at my podcasts that I'm going to listen to that day, the one I need is always there at the top. And I go, that's the one I need to listen to today. So I wonder if that's, kind of confirmation bias, or if actually the universe is like gone, today you need to speak to Simon Monday. This is the message you would have got. Yeah. And I don't underestimate the influence of the people that we walk around with in our headphones. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I've had some difficulties, and they've without question have helped me too.
Yeah.
And again, I wonder if Simon knows it. I wonder if he gets feedback and people write to him and say, and
Yeah.
maybe you should, Steve, maybe you should write to him and tell him the thing. And I'll send him this. I'll find a way
Yeah.
to send it to him and say that, you've made an impact there. And I think sometimes, especially when people are successful, that you feel like, oh, they don't want to hear from me. They don't
Yeah.
want to hear my little story. But actually, he'd probably be thrilled to hear that he's really helped you in times of, where you've really benefited from whatever he was sharing that day.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I really enjoyed the kind of archive. So when you kind of work back, I was always like, oh yeah, it suited me at the time. I was going for a dog walk, and it was great. And it was all, as you say, kind of timely and effective. Like it just met me where I was. But it was, it was honestly life changing for me. It was, and it really was. Yeah, I kind of. Because you have these emotions and they're quite challenging, aren't they? And
yes.
Then, I think at that point I was almost like, why am I not happier? I quite honestly got everything that I wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't want for anything. But yeah, it was great for me, really. Yeah.
That's the thing about those darn emotions. You can read all you like. You're still going to feel them, and they're still going to be a bit like, what's that all about?
Yeah.
So even though you did all your your studies and whatnot, you're still they're uniquely yours. And so I'm really glad you found that. What's the name of his podcast now? Do you know it?
Oh God, I don't know.
Oh, is it?
About that. Yeah.
Well, I can look it up and put it in the show notes. But Simon Monday.
Yeah, I still listen to it.
Good.
It's changed names a couple of times.
All right.
Yeah. Hold up.
Wait for it, Simon.
Yeah.
This is for you.
Yeah, sorry, mate. A new way of being.
A new way of being. Okay, yeah, Simon Monday, new way of being. We've just given a shout out for him. Super. All right. Well, listen, we've come to the end of the 5. The format really is the next thing I like to ask people is, and we've talked a bit about your mum. She makes you laugh. She taught you how to work hard. And build community and have a vibrant life full of people coming and going and all that brings. Alan probably saw in you what you couldn't see, but maybe he taught you how to do that. I don't know. But let's talk from your perspective. What do you think? And when you track back over these 5, the qualities or behaviours or attributes that you can recognise in yourself as a direct influence of those people?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think in many ways they just let you be who you are. Find what's I don't know. That's kind of my inkling towards it. Like they kind of empower you or give you the confidence to be what you are. Really, I know. I'm really easily influenced. I am. I kind of But yeah, I think that's probably the best thing of them. There's a level of acceptance, perhaps.
But do you find it then therefore you are quite accepting? Like you say, you meet people where they are. You see the good in people.
Yeah. I think I am. Yeah. I think I am. I kind of, when I see people and they do something I perhaps wouldn't necessarily do, I kind of think, where's that come from? And what
awareness
is that in their interest and whatever. I try to be totally accepting. Yeah, I kind of think if I was in that situation, would I do the same?
Yes. What do they say? Stay curious, not judgmental, or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I'd say that. I'd say that. I think that's
good. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, the rest of us can all see it, Steve, even if you can't. I'm really messing. So, okay. So the last question then is, actually it's 2. One is, you're a young man, you've got young family, you've got this great business. You've had a lot of people support you even right now. You've got plenty of people in your corner making time and supporting you. So how are you paying this all forward to the world? What, apart from your actual investment in people's health and well-being, which is pretty obvious, how do you see yourself going forward and taking this and giving it, to others and paying it forward?
I don't know. I think quite a lot about that. Am I fulfilling my role in that?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, so certainly in more recent years where I've become busier, last 18 months especially, I think I kind of haven't necessarily done that in the way that I perhaps would. My friends might jump on your timeline and tell you I'm perhaps can be a bit of a shit friend sometimes.
So you're going to try harder.
Yeah, bro. I say that every year. That's my New Year's resolution.
All right. Anybody who knows Steve and knows he's a shit friend, can you please let us know? Join the conversation.
Yeah, tell them that I might call them back soon.
Yeah. They probably learn more about you from listening to this than they did all the years of knowing you. That can happen sometimes.
Yeah, EJ comments on that. So when I catch up with some of my kind of good friends, she said, "Oh, what about this and what about that?" And I said, "Well, we didn't really talk about that. It's mainly the superficial stuff we like to talk about.
Oh, just hang out. Yeah,
yeah, that's it. But that's it. It's amazing how that happens, isn't it? Like, you could talk about nothing at all, and it's the best time ever. Really.
Yeah,
So,
it's just the way people make you feel rather than the content, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, you're going to just try and be less shit as a friend. Okay,
Yeah.
I get that. That's a good ambition. Why don't we just keep it to that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, last question. I don't know if you've had time to think about this, or if I'm going to put you on the spot. But who should I speak to next, and why?
Oh, crumbs.
I want to speak to EJ.
There won't be anyone on that list.
I know, but I'm so fascinated by that. I just want to go, come on, EJ, there must be. Come on, let's do it.
I know who you should speak to.
Go on.
Mary Fenwick. She's the best. Yeah.
What's her name again?
Mary Fenwick.
Mary Fenwick. Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, you'll love her. Yeah, you'll get on so well with her. Yeah.
All right. Can you connect me, though?
Yeah, I will do, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And Mary's on the list, but honestly, I really want you to push EJ to think about her 5.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Let me know. Text me and say,
I will.
okay.
I will. They're probably football players, I think.
That's all right. I don't really mind. But listen, honestly, Steve, it's been great talking to you. You have such an infectious energy. I feel like I don't know. I do feel like I need to come to your gym, genuinely.
Right.
I think I would enjoy that sense of community. And also just, to be with someone who really does understand, I don't know, the impact, if you like, of good, like you say, we rationally know we should exercise and eat more, eat more healthily. But it's like to make that into something joyous rather than, a drudge. I think that's a really great gift that you obviously have. So listen, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. Thank you for sharing your 5. I wish you all the very best with your business. You're absolutely, smashing it anyway. So, but yeah, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Steve is just such a darling. I could have spoken to him all day. In fact, we did speak for a good half an hour afterwards because he's an absolute minefield of information. And you can tell from this conversation, it deeply matters to him that people do benefit from the expertise that he has. So if you enjoyed this conversation, as ever, please like, subscribe, forward, comment, or perhaps even get in touch. And maybe you can share your 5 with me. But until next time, take care. See you.